So in this I'm going to kind of demo how grouping can really help to organize the chaos that is a whole bunch of different elements scattered across a page, and also how maybe a dominant element is not the main area of emphasis. So first let's talk about grouping. Right now there's really no order to these objects that we've got. They are all squares. They are all colors that actually work together in a color scheme. It is a compound or tetradic color scheme, but I've desaturated the heck out of some of them. I want to make my super bright pink square the main area of focus. So grouping just simply means of taking elements and moving them either close together or even overlapping. And once we start doing that, our eyes quit looking at those as individual pieces and start looking at it as one big piece. So now instead of seeing 5 little separate pieces, my eye is seeing this as one big piece. And if I keep adding stuff to it, we've got one big piece, and then I'm going to do another grouping or element. Actually, I like that at 6. So something I haven't really talked about, and I will talk about more, is how our human eye likes things in odd numbers. And I haven't actually ever looked up the exact reason of that, but my hypothesis is we like balance, and having a center point with stuff to balance it out is something that we like. So anytime you have groupings, if you can keep them in odd numbers, it'll look even better. So maybe 3 groups all made up of odd numbers. So how many have we got up here? We got 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't like that. I'm going to get rid of one of those. And I'm not going for beauty here, I'm just going for explaining this concept. And then I'm going to have a second smaller grouping that does not include my really bright piece. And this time there's 5 in there. Make this a bigger piece. Alright, so if we look at the canvas this way, I can see that there's 3 main groups, if we want to call it that. We've got our biggest one, or our most dominant one, a second smaller or subdominant, and then this smallest single one down by itself, which is great. That's grouping. Now we have 3 elements instead of 25 or however many pieces are actually on here. But we want the pink to be the area of emphasis. So if we move it away from all of these others, it actually becomes the emphasis. So you might start by looking at the biggest piece and then the next, but this is the area of the most interest because we've taken a single piece that was like the others and moved it away by itself, and that brings more attention to it. Part of that is the relationship between positive and negative space. So positive space is the area that is actually filled with something. In this case, our square and our couple of groups, those are positive space areas. The negative space is all the area around them that doesn't really have anything in it. But if you look at this as shapes, we actually have one big shape with this white, so it has its own value or its own weight in this composition. And because it is surrounded by negative space, this becomes more important. Now, as far as what order I want to guide my viewer's eye around, right now I'm following that we will read from left to right, top to bottom. So my first and most large element or grouping is here in the top left. My next the next largest is a little down and to the right, and then my last one that I want people to look at is further down and on the left. So I'm looking left, right, left, and that is my visual hierarchy coming down this row. I could switch these around a little bit if I really wanted to. And this is still kind of the same thing. I'm going to start up here and run into this one, and then come here and run into that one, and then come down here. And either way, these are what we see first. But I'm going to flip it around on you here and show you the opposite way. Okay, so now we're not using that reading left to right anymore, but we do still have a overall composition because we've got our largest piece, oh, my mouse went away, our largest grouping here on the bottom, our next largest above it, and the smallest one, and together they almost make a triangle, which is a really good way of composing certain pieces because it naturally directs your vision down to this single point. So once again, I know I'm reiterating the same thing over and over, but this is the main dominant piece, but this is the area of emphasis. So that again we will work with multiple times through this whole semester, and it will just become like habit to you guys. So I hope that made sense.